Faith Church, hope you're well. It's Friday, June 25th, and we are continuing to read through John's Gospel, chapter 12. Really hope you're reading along with us. It's just so good, and I've read these texts. I don't know, a lot of times, and yet even today, something brand new stuck out to me. Yesterday we read the story of Lazarus. Jesus comes to raise him from the dead. Brilliant story. And I never noticed in chapter 12, Lazarus is raised, but how many times, his name is mentioned 3 or 4 times in chapter 12. The chapter begins by telling us that because of the popularity that came to Jesus after he did this miracle, that they wanted to kill Jesus, but also wanted to kill Lazarus as well. Makes me think that if your life is going to bear witness to the truth of Christ, then something in the world's going to come after you as well, not just Christ. But anyway, as the chapter goes on, he keeps getting mentioned, and it never occurred to me before, this idea. Way back in the beginning of chapter 11, Jesus gets word that Lazarus, his dear friend, is sick. Mary and Martha, Lazarus' sister, send word to come and he's sick, come do something, we know you can heal. And Jesus doesn't come. It says he loved Lazarus, but he waits for 4 days before he shows up. And he says specifically, I'm waiting so that Lazarus can die, so that I will be glorified. Which there's a whole thing there to unpack, but he waits and then he comes. And I always kind of assumed that Christ would be glorified, particularly through just raising Lazarus. I'm going to let him die so I can go and raise him from the dead, and then you'll see my glory and my power to do even this kind of miracle, bring someone back after they've been dead for 4 days. But as chapter 12 goes on and Lazarus' name keeps being brought up, it became clear to me today that Lazarus' coming back to life was used by Christ as a catalyst, because what it did is it generated popularity for him like never before, and in turn then the religious leaders came after him with renewed dedication to crucify him, to end his life. Basically, the miracle of Lazarus sets in motion the mission of the cross and the resurrection, through which ultimately Jesus would be glorified. And so it just occurred to me that the glory Jesus is speaking about ultimately is not the glory of raising a man from the dead, but himself being raised for the sake of the world. 2 quick things about this. One, it just reminded me of the sovereignty of Christ, that his plan when he came to earth was clearly laid out. It didn't matter what other people did. He was carrying out his plan exactly according to his Father's wishes, and his Father's will was, now this is the time, this Passover was the time for you to be glorified. And so by waiting to see Lazarus resuscitated, he puts in motion this. Every single thing is in the sovereignty of Christ. If you read the psalm for the day, Psalm 146, a beautiful psalm that talks about how God is in control of not only creation but justice and people coming to know him. That all things work because of God's sovereignty. Second thing that just struck me is that a reminder that this is the way, that the way to glory is always through the dying of oneself. Glory doesn't come without death. Later on in chapter 12, in fact, Jesus says, anyone who would come after me has to give up their life, has to set themselves aside. It doesn't necessarily mean we have to be martyred as his followers, but we have to die to ourselves, to our own dreams, our own plans, and receive his plans instead. And it is through that death of ourselves, just like through his death, that glory comes. Anyway, so much more to say here. Another reminder to me that you can read a scripture many times, and then God still has so much to teach us through this. Looking forward to being with you in worship. We're beginning a new series on Sunday. Excited about kind of thinking about the way that we love each other in the church. Quite different from our last series on Revelation. So wherever you are today, may you know the love of God your Father, the grace of Christ his Son, and the peace and the unity of the Spirit. Peace.